All right. Hello, people. Zeus here back with another video. And today, as you can tell by the title, we're talking about IdentityV and what side it favors. And I want you to say before the video starts, I just want this to be discerned that this is for tournaments only. This is applicable to tournament gameplay only. I don't care about ranked. I don't care about anything that is not tournament. If it is not tournament, I do not care about it. Point blank. I just don't care. So now with that being said, I have three sheets. So these are the summer IVL stats for 2024. The summer IVL stats that just from the IVL that just passed weeks 1 through 10. These are the map stats, the hunter stats, and the survivor stats. So we're going to break this down each chart by chart. So chart 1, which is the map stats, has the maps, the average map time, the number of times they've been picked, the average time they're banned, average serve points, average hunter points, the amount of times survivors won, the win rates of the survivors, the amount of times the hunter wins, the win rate of the hunters, and both of the draw rates. For the hunters, you have the number of times they've been picked, their ban rate, their pick mate, the common map, their individual win rates, their individual draw rates, their match times. I didn't do deduction points because that's pointless. Number of serves they have dead on average, number of downs they get on average, the amount of time first kite lasts, their average number of terror shots, and then this is something I just included, which is loss rate, because this is obviously supposed to all add up to 100%, the win rate, draw rate, and the loss rate. This is added. This is not an official stat. This is just something I added so that way then it can be more visible for people. And then finally we have our survivor stats, which is just the survivor, number of times they've been picked, number of times they've been banned, their ranking based on how many times they've been banned, their pick rate, the reverse rate is their chances of getting picked when they are not banned, the amount of times the survivors won, drawed, and lost, and their escape rate. Now, all of this information can be found on the Weibo website. Thank you, Yaldo, for providing me and translating all of this info for me, because I would not be able to make this video if it wasn't for Yaldo being able to send me all of this info, break it down for me into easy categories, along with then translating it for me every step of the way. So thank you, Yalda, buddy. Love you making this possible. Had to take a sip of my protein shake. You know how this goes, gym shit. So let's start with the map stats, because I think the map stats will be the most simple way to break it down. Now, the map stats do not take into account at all what round or condition is needed for either sides. I want that to be very clear. This is not accounting for what round it is or what conditions either side needs. This is just the map. That's it. Nothing else. Solely the map. Okay? So we're gonna go through each of them. So number 1, we have arms. So the average match time on arms lasts 387 seconds. The number of times it's been picked, 40. Number of times it's been banned, 15. Now, these numbers are kind of whatever. You can just tell which maps are popular based on how much they've been banned and how many times they've been picked. The thing I want us to focus on for the maps is columns E through J. Practically, these are the columns I want to primarily focus on. Columns E through J. That is it. So if we look at column E, right, where we're going through arms, church, hospital, lakeside, moonlit, Leos, Chinatown, and ever sleeping, right, we can see that the average survivor points is, and keep in mind when it's saying average survivor points, it's meaning, you know, the amount of points you get, whether you get a 0 escape, a 1 escape, a 2 escape, 3 escape, or 4 escape. So, you know, 1 escape is 1 point, 2 escape is 2 points, 3 escape is 3 points, 4 escape is 5 points, and then obviously a 0 escape is 0 points. That's how that's working. The same thing can be applied to the hunter points. So, as we can see now, on arms, the average survivor points is 1.84. On church, 1.81. Hospital, 2. Lakeside, 1.81. Moonlit, 1.37. Leos, 1.64. 1.46 on Chinatown, and 1.79 on Eversleeping. Versus the hunter average, 2.34 on arms, 2.43 on church, 2.08 on hospital, 2.35 on lakeside, 2.92 on moonlit, 2.57 on Leos, 2.79 on Chinatown, and 2.4 on Ever Sleeping Town. So, what are we noticing already? Survivors are expected to lose on every single map that is not hospital. And that's hospital. I think we all know why we're not expected to lose on hospital, because that map is just broken. Like, it's insanely survivor sided for no fucking reason. Absolutely absurd. But other than that, survivors are expected to lose on every single map that is not hospital. We are expected. We are not even expected to get a draw, and that is our job as survivor players for when survivors are playing in tournaments. It is to get a draw minimum. We're not supposed to lose and get 3K'd, 4K'd. Our objective is to draw. And on average, for 10 weeks straight, for 10 weeks of data, this is, again, not including playoffs, this is only weeks 1 through 10 of Summer IVL from this year. Survivors, on average, were just losing on every single map that isn't hospital. Versus hunters, who are on average drawing on every single map that's not hospital. And even then, it's right there. It's it's practically, it's still above a 2, so it's still a draw, but you're just on the cusp. So it's it's kind of finicky. But otherwise, on every single map, you're expected to draw as a hunter. You are drawing. With Moonlit being, you are practically winning every single match when you go on Moonlit. You're just win. You're practically expected to win on Moonlit when you pick Moonlit. Like, it's an absurdity. Genuinely, it's crazy to me. So when I say, and again, this is just one thing. When I say that IDV in tournaments is hunter-sided, and people try to argue with me on Twitter and say that my survivor main is showing, and say that I don't know what I'm talking about because hunters only have 2 meta viable options, which we'll get to in a bit. We will get to that in a second. But if you want to argue with me, go ahead and do that. Argue with the numbers. You want to argue with me? That's fine. You can argue with me all you want. Argue with the stats. Argue with the literal mathematical evidence that I'm providing. Number of survivor W's. Arms Factory 20 wins. Church 14. Hospital 3. Lakeside 13. Moonlit 6. Leos 17. Chinatown 14. And Eversleeping 22. Versus Hunters. Arms 18. Church 20. Hospital 2. Lakeside 14. Moonlit 30. Leos 29. Chinatown 38. Eversleeping 30. Now let's get on to win rates. The win rates of the survivors. Average win rate for teams on survivors when they go on arms is 0.26. For church, it's 0.26. For hospital, it's 0.25. For lakeside, it's 0.35. For moonlit, it's 0.1. It's 0.1. Leos 0.21. Chinatown 0.17. Eversleeping 0.24. And keep in mind, assume these are all out of 100. This is so when I say 0.26, I'm saying 26%. When I say 0.25, I'm saying 25%. This is all just in the percentile out of 100. Versus hunters, 0.23 on arms, 0.38 on church, 0.17 on hospital, 0.38 on lakeside, 0.5 on moonlit, 0.36 on Leos, 0.47 on Chinatown, 0.33 on Eversleeping. So the only 2 maps where survivors have somewhat of an advantage on are arms and hospital. And even then, the hunters are still outperforming on those maps that survivors on average are winning more. Do we see what I'm saying? Are we now beginning to understand that, the shit is not oh, poor hunters because it's a 4v1. That means it's automatically survivor-sided because it's 4v1. No, it isn't. Because on average, the hunters are outperforming in literally almost every single category. Aside from 2 rows of being arms and church, arms and hospital, the hunters are outperforming in every which way. They just blatantly are. That's just the facts. It's you understand that as a survivor, we have a 10% chance of winning on Moonlit. Our average percent of winning on Moonlit is 10% versus the hunter 50. And then both sides have a 40% chance to draw, which drawing isn't bad. Obviously, drawing is not a bad thing. But the fact that survivors only have practically a 10% chance of winning, or only have one on, more specifically, only have one on Moonlit 10% of the time, versus hunters with 50, half of the time hunters are winning on Moonlit, versus 10% of the time survivors winning on Moonlit. Is that not like, is that like is that not like ringing any bells? Like, is that not causing anything like to be like recognized in it? Like, that's not like, that's absurdity. That's absurdity. You pick a map and you just base your average chance to win is 10%. It's absolutely insane. Like, it's not, that's not okay. Like, that's not very balanced, as people want to say, as the hunter mains of the hunter justice warriors of the IDV community like to say, because it's a 4v1, so it's automatically unfair, and there's only two meta viable hunters. Like, I will say it again, if you want to argue with me all you want, but you got to argue with the numbers too. You got to argue with the numbers too. I'm just saying. You have to argue with the numbers as well. Just literally just throwing that out there. If you want to argue with me all you want, but you got to argue with the numbers as well, because the numbers are are literally on my side, and I think everyone here is okay with a number of statistic. Now I'm gonna have those smartasses that are gonna say, actually, you can't determine whether IDV is survivor-sided or hunter-sided because with numbers, because there's a lot of nuance to it. Remember what I said in the beginning of the video. Doesn't account for specific nuances. This is very broad because they have to be broad, because you cannot account for literally every single nuance. That is just how intricate competitive is. So you need to have some kind of baseline broadity in order for it to work numerically. So I'm gonna keep restating that until everything is like said and done, because I really don't want to open the comment section later of this video when I upload this for people to tell me you can't use numbers to prove whether IdentityV is survivor sided or hunter sided, blah 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 blah. In competitive, you can, and ranked, sure, because you can do fuck all in ranked. But that's why I said in the beginning of the video, this does not include rank. This does not include low tier, because point simply, rank and low tiers do not matter at all. It is strictly tourney and tourney only. That is that. All that matters when it comes to balancing for this game, the competitive game, is tournament. And I strictly stand by that. That is it. So, that's just the maps. That is just the motherfucking maps. Let's move on to the hunters. So, this is the hunter sides. These are all of the hunter stats. So we have every hunter here from opera singer all the way to clerk, with like the obvious niches not being there, like some shit like fucking whatchamacallit, like Mad Eyes here or some bullshittery. You know, these are just the main hunters that you would see. Now, I indicated this red whatchamacallit, this red line right here, because as you can see when you're looking through the number of picks, right? There are some hunters on here that don't even make it up to 10 matches, and I want to make that clear, because if the hunter hasn't been played at least 10 times, I don't want to count them, because they're not even hitting like the 1 out of 10, like they're not even hitting the out of 10 default, you know, that would need for an 100% ranking. Like, they're only, like, if they're only there 8 out of 10 times, but they haven't even been played 10 times, you know, like, how valid is the data that we're being provided? Like, you look down here, Wu Chang was only played once, but he has an 100% win rate, you know? But he was only played 1 time, so obviously that data is skewed. Same thing with Axeboy. Axeboy was only played once, but he has an 100% win rate. Does that mean that Axeboy and Wu Chang are meta now? No. It just means that the 1 time they were played, they won. And that's the only stat they have to go off of. So that's why I made that red line right there. Any hunter that has not been played more at least 10 times, I won't really take into account their data. I just put their data there because people might want to see it, they might want to just know. So that's why I put their data there, that just for the sake of, you know, having the full chart there that I was provided, because I didn't want to leave data out for people to then say, where's this hunter, where's that hunter. You know, you know how it is. Some people just want to see the shit for their specific hunter, and that's perfectly fine. So yeah, but the main hunters of importance are opera to wheel, right? Those are the only main hunters of importance, opera to wheel, practically. Right, because they've been played over 10 times, etc. They get their job done, blah blah blah. You know the drill. So we have the hunter, the number of times they've been picked, their ban rate, their pick rate, their common map, win rate, draw rate, blah 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 blah. Right? So opera singer has a total of 172 picks during summer IVL. 172 picks. With a 51% ban rate and a 35% pick rate. Most common map is Ever Sleeping. She has a 47% win rate and a 39% draw rate. She is losing 14% of the time. Again, this is not an official statistic. This is something I included. I want that to be very clear. The loss rate is not something that was included in the Weibo spreadsheet. This is just an inclusion that I added so that way then it could be simpler for people to see because, you know, it's still a percentile that's supposed to add up to 100%. So Opera is losing only 14% of the time. That's number one. She is losing 14% of the time. Only 14% of the time, I might add, which is insane to me. That means the other 86% of the time she's either winning or drawing, with the most common, the higher up being the winning. She is winning the most out of any hunter here. Like she's winning, she has the highest win rate out of any hunter here. Followed by Ivy, 128 picks, 35% ban rate, 26% pick rate, most common map ever sleeping, 39% win rate, 36% draw rate. And then she is only losing 25% of the time. She is only losing a quarter of the time. Other than that, she is drawing and winning. Do we understand? Like, are we seeing this? And that's only the two queens. That's only the two queens of the game. Okay? Because another thing I want to make adamantly clear, just because you are a draw hunter does not mean that you are bad. I want that to be adamantly clear. Being a draw hunter is not a bad thing. It is not. Being a draw hunter is very good. Getting draws as a hunter is very good for you. It is very good. Because all that does is keep the game stagnant. So that way then you can stall out the game longer for you to then in the later rounds end up taking the lead with more bans, etc. Being a draw hunter, being able to farm draws when it's needed is not bad. Being meta is not only about being able to win, because a lot of people have that misconception that being meta is only about being able to win and nothing more. Now, before we continue on to the next, I do want to say rip to my boy Hermit. Yes, yeah, I'm okay. I will let you guys clown me on the Hermit. I dick suck Hermit a little bit too much, but that's just because I see his potential of what he can do versus what actually happens. He only got picked 6 times, and as we can see, that motherfucker has an 83% loss rate. So go ahead, clown me on the Hermit. I deserve that. Yep. Yeah, I'll admit that one. Yeah, that was me you know, meat riding Hermit a little bit too much because I hate him. So I will let that one slide. I will let that one go. You guys got that one. Take it as you will. That's your W. Next one, Anne. And this is, again, where we start really getting into the nitty-gritty. This is where I want win rate, draw rate, and the loss rate to really be in connotation with the ban rate. Because remember, these series are a best of 3. So, you have Opera and Ivy, who make up, by themselves, 86% of the ban rate. By themselves, they make up 86% of the ban rate. Keep that in mind. 86% of the time, you are going to be banning an Opera or Ivy. Again, does not account for round, map, blah, 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 blah. Everything that I said for the map stats, same thing applies here. Doesn't account for the round, the condition, etc. 86% of the time, you're banning Opera or Ivy. You're banning one of the two 86% of the time. That is a given. That is a guarantee. That would mean now when you have to deal with Nightwatch, Bonbon, Wax Artist, you know, another set of 4 fucking hunters, you know, it starts getting a problem. Has a 2% ban rate. And is banned 2% of the time. She has a 33% win rate and a 46% draw rate. She has a lower loss rate than Ivy, who I consider the best hunter in the game because of just how much insanity she'll have when she's mastered. Because Ivy to right now is still not mastered. Opera is. That's why Opera is still triumphant. Because we've already seen mastered Operas at work. We have not to see a mastered Ivy. Ivy is not going to be mastered until I want to say maybe around Koa 8. Koa 8 is when she'll more than likely be mastered. 100%. Like without fail. Koa 8 is when she'll be mastered. No doubt in my head. But this is what I'm talking about when I say the game is hunter-sided right now. This is what I mean. Because you have to ban Opera and Ivy, or you're practically handing them the win or the draw because of these numbers. But then when you do, you then have to face an Anne who draws damn near 50% of the time. along with only yo, we haven't even gotten into the average kites yet. We haven't even gotten into the average kites, and loses only 21% of the time. Oh, you're gonna go on the 2% ban for Night Watch because you're gonna go the 2% ban for Ann. You guys made it to round 4. Well, guess what? Now you get Night Watch, who draws 64% of the time and loses 18. He has the third lowest loss rate. He loses 18% of the time. I know we meme out Night Watch, but drawing 64% of the time and losing 18% of the time is not bad. That's not bad. That's really fucking good. That is extremely good. Because you know what this means? His stats are so evenly spread out that means if he's in a draw position, it's a coin flip on whether he wins or loses. And if he wins the gamble, then he wins. That's not bad. That's really fucking good. He's in the same category as Ann, except he draws more times than she does. And he was picked less. Ann was picked 52 times. Nightwatch was only picked 28. And he was still drawing more. Ann was winning more. So that's why it's obviously like that. But still, drawing over 64% of the time isn't bad. It's not. Look at Bonbon. Bonbon draws 53% of the time. He only has a 21% loss rate. Wax only has a 17% loss rate, drawing 61% of the time. Like, do we understand this? The top 7 hunters, the top 6 hunters right now, Opera, Ivy, Ann, Nightwatch, Bond, Wax Artist, they're all winning or drawing more than 40% of the time in some way. They're not losing more than a quarter of the time. Like anything above, they're not losing. They're not at a place like Gamekeeper, where Gamekeeper is almost losing half of the time. They're not in a place like Lizard, where Lizard is like on that cusp, but not in Wheel, where it's like, you know, it's a little finicky. They're more often than not winning or drawing more than 50% of the time, and they're not losing anything higher than 25, and that's 6 hunters. And survivors, at most, if it goes to round 4, only have 300 bans. At most. And it's a best of 3 series. So it's only 3 rounds, which means we only get 200 bans. And guess what the hunter bans are going to be? I can give you a huge hint at what the 2 hunters that are going to be banned are going to be. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, Opera Ivy. So survivors, they don't have that many options because you got to ban the 2 queens of the game. The two running goddesses of the game that are just running shit without stop. But then you gotta deal with Ann, Nightwatch, Bonbon, Wax Artist. You gotta deal with these fucking draw hunters. These hunters who draw that also have a pretty decent chance of being able to clutch out a win. Because they're not bad. Losing less than 20% of the time, more often than not. So it's like, so I don't understand where we get this conception that there's only 2 meta hunters. I don't understand where people get this idea that there's only 2 meta hunters, because if that's the case, we're just not playing the same game. Like, you and I, we're just not playing the same game. We aren't. Like, I don't see how you can look at these numbers and tell me that this is not, like, a disparity on the survivors' end. 6 hunters that don't even lose 25%, that don't lose more than 25% of the time. Like, it's insane to me. And it's, again, we're following my rule of thumb here. If it's not played more than 10 times, like, these are over 10 match stats. Like, I'm fine with that. Like, because at least they cover, you know, the 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, etc. You know, it's at least all equaling to 100%, you know, if not higher. So it's like, we see this shit, and it's like, alright, so let's counter comp an Ann. Oh, we got a Nightwatch. Fuck. Oh, let's counter comp the Bonbon. Oh, we got a Wax Artist. Fuck. Oh, let's counter comp the Wax Artist. Oh, fuck, we got an Ann. Oh, let's counter comp the Nightwatch. Oh, fuck, we got a Bonbon. Like, there's not much one can do. All these hunters are so nuanced and different. You can't counter comp them all. You can't think of a comp that'll get to all of them. And when you look at how much they're winning, drawing, and losing, it's like all I can do is throw my hands up in the air and say, well, GG's. Like, gotta thug it out, you know? Gotta really, like, go crazy. We just lose. And that's not even accounting the average kite time. Average kite time against an Opera is 61 seconds. That's a losing kite. That's not a winning kite. That's not even a drawing kite. It's 61 seconds. Average kite against an Ann. Well, no, that's a Night Watch. Average kite against the Night Watch is 62. Average kite against an Ann is 69. Average kite against, what is that, a fucking Bonbon? 86. And guess what? That fucker's still drawing 53% of the time. Average kite against a fucking Wax Art is 73. Another draw. Average kite against a fucking Ivy is what? 77? Yeah, 77. But Ivy's, guess what? Ivy's the endgame fucking demon. Like, you got a three-man endgame against an Ivy, and that's it. You're fucked. Like, you're cooked beyond belief, my brother in Christ. You're cooked. There's nothing you can do. Shake. So, like, this is like, oh my god, like, I just don't know, like, I really hope that this is, like, putting into perspective for people, like, why I'm so adamant that this is the most hunter-sided the game has been. Like, we can see the numbers. We're looking at the same numbers. And if you don't believe me, you can find this on the official Weibo yourself. If you have a Weibo account or something, you can find these week 1 through 10 stats yourself. If you really don't believe me. All translated, everything. Again, shout out to Yalda. Thank you, Yalda. And finally, the survivors. Because I know this is where the hunter mains are going to fucking, like, plankton the shit out and be like, yes, yes, yes. Like, they're going to fucking go crazy. Alright. So, number of picks, number of times they've been banned, rank on bans, pick rate, their chances of being picked when they're not banned, number of wins, number of draws, number of losses, and the escape rate. Escape rate, I don't really give a fuck about. I'm like, whatever. I just want to focus really on these categories right here. Their pick rates, reverse pick rates, and then wins, draws, losses. Number of bans and rank bans, still pretty important. You know, gotta respect that. So, for whoever that Twitter user was that told me that coordinator is not meta, number 1 most banned survivor in IVL with a total of 307 bans. Person who tells me that Seer is not the most meta survivor, is still not a good character. 293 bans, second most banned character. Now, this is where, again, clown me. I will give you the opportunity to clown me. Antiquarian, third most banned survivor. Now, I want to make the preface on Antiquarian that I feel as if on the community side, both sides, there is a spectrum. There are people like me who don't like Antiquarian that much in this meta because I think of all the places where she can get fucked over. And there are people that, I don't know, god damn it. People who disagree with me on that and look at Antiquarian from a lens of, well, look at what she can do to get herself out of those situations. And I think that's good. I think there's nuance in that. That's fine. For me, I'm just more of a pessimist against Anti because there's just Ivy, Wax Artist, fucking Bond, like shit like that, you know, that can just deal with her very easily without any, like, real thing. But she's also banned, the third most, so respect to that. So, you can clown me about that. Yep, alright, Zeus IDV was wrong about Anti to an extent, you know. I just, you know, I think both sides, my side and the opposing side, one side thinks that Anti is, like, the god, versus me who's like, Auntie's like in the pits of hell, and we're both wrong. She's just in that plane in between, and that's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fucking fine. Like, absolutely okay. Whatchamacallit? We have Acrobat up here, we have Seer, we have Arrow, we have Cord, we have Wildling, Gardener, Officer. My cutoff point for, like, what these characters really do is, like, if it's not above, like, 90 matches, practically, because of how many times they can be picked, because, you know, 4 survivors per team, you know, compared to the Hunter stats. So, for me, like, everything that's below 90 matches, for me, is niche. That's how I see it. They're still good. They can be used. They can fit well in situations. But on the survivor's end, if it's below 90, it's niche for me. Like, it's a niche pick that you're picking for some kind of condition or some kind of counter pick for a specific hunter. That is how I see it. Because even on the spreadsheet, when I look at it, that's like the disparity. We don't have a survivor in the 80s. It's like 250, 90, 92, 135, 90, 90, 90, and then we just drop down to 70, and then we go down to 60, and then 50, and then 40, etc. So that's why for me, 90 is the cutoff point for the survivors on, like, what would be considered meta, statistically speaking. Everything else falls under that niche umbrella, which is fine, because being a niche survivor doesn't make you a bad survivor. It just means that you are niche. Now, for what I would stop the niche, anything that's below 20 matches is where I just would say you're just not meta anymore, or like you're like hyper focused, like you're condition based. So practically Ento would be the cutoff point for that. And then after that, it's just like, well, then anything below that, it's either you're like hyper shit or you're just like shit, like you're hyper specific or you're just shitty. Or you're just banned like 30 fucking years at the time. There's also that case. But yeah. So we're looking at the survivors. So we have, and there's a lot of these, so bear with me because I'm gonna have to. I'm really trying to like run through this shit because I don't want this video to like turn into fucking like an hour and a half long. I'm trying to like really like break it down fast and concise for people. So you have coordinator, 307 banned. She has a 19% pick rate, but when she's not banned, that pick rate spikes up to 52. Mercenary goes from 50. When he's not banned, it goes to 62. Seer, 18. Then it goes up to 45 when he's not banned. And Arrow, 27 when in general. 33 when not banned. Anti, 18 in general. 33 when not banned. Acro, 23 in general. 29 when not banned. Patient, 19 in general. 24 when not banned. Wildling, 20 in general. 24 when not banned. Gardener, 19 in general, 23 when not banned. Officer, 19 in general, 22 when not banned. And Psych, 18 in general, 21 when not banned. And now we're going to look at their wins, draws, losses. So Merc, 56, 103, 91. Cord, 25, 39, 35. Seer, 26, 30, 36. Arrow, 25, 55, 55. Anti, 27, 34, 30. Acro, 32, 48, 38. Patient, 17, 44, 38. Wildling, 14, 39, 49. Gardener, 14, 41, 41. Officer, 26, 42, 30. And Psych, 25, 34, 33. So what is a common thing that we are seeing? The amount of losses outweigh the amount of times the survivors are winning. Every single time. Every single one of the 12, like, quote-unquote, statistically meta survivors. I say quote-unquote because, again, statistic cannot always determine meta, but we are just using this so that we then, equal playing field for both sides, because, this can tilt on both ends. The losses are outweighing the wins of every single survivor. That is quote-unquote statistically meta. And it keeps on going down. Prisoner, 17, 35, 24. Cheerleader, 9, 32, 26. Prospector, 19, 24, 23. Barmaid, 16, 22, 19. We're going to get really down here. Priestess is going to be a real fun one for me because Priestess is number 4 on the bans. But this is also where I want to focus on pick rate and reverse rate, which is just, the chances of being picked when they are not banned. So if we look at this, right, the rates slowly start decreasing and decreasing and decreasing for whether they're not banned. This is like your signaling of like what should be considered meta and what isn't practically. Whether their pick rate on whether they are not banned. Both their base pick rate and then their pick rate of when they're not banned should be like your cue of like, okay, this survivor is like what's needed. People love to dick suck Priestess. They love to dick suck her to the ends of the earth. She was banned 155 times. Again, for the third and final time, this chart does not account for round, map, or what condition the survivors of the hunter needed. This is just general basis. But Priestess was the 4th most banned survivor in IVL. But then we look at her pick rate and reverse rate. 484 when she's in general. She only has a 4% pick rate in general, but then when she's not banned, it's only a 7% pick rate. So what does this tell you? Even when Priestess is available, nobody is looking for Priestess. Nobody is looking for Priestess to be utilized when they want something. Anything. 7% of the time, they're looking for Priestess when she's not banned. Whether she's banned or not, she's not even picked 5% of the time. Gravekeeper has a higher base pick rate than her. So I just want that to be, just want to really point that out for people that love to dick suck the absolute fuck out of Priestess. Nobody in tournament is looking for Priestess when they want something. Nobody. It's 7% of people are. 7% of the time we're looking at Priestess when we want something. But the other 93% of the time, nobody's looking at Priestess. Nobody is looking at Priestess when they want something. She is bad in this meta. She is bad right now. She isn't fucking good right now. Blatantly. I can guarantee you a good amount of the reason of why she's fucking banned is because of the fact of Global Portal. Global Portal is her only remaining quality, and when you're playing draw hunters that don't exactly have the mobility of Opera Ivy, if you allow a Priestess, You know, for a global portal, that's pretty fucking annoying to deal with, and it requires you to force a trade. So yes, obviously they're gonna ban the priestess that has the one time the fucking usage of the ability that can travel across the map. But even then, we have warp now. Like even then, we have fucking warp. So like it's how good is it really? You know? Like nobody's looking at priestess with her 7.04% chance of being picked when she's not banned. Nobody's looking at priestess when they want something. Nobody. Absolute no one. Let's look at the harassers, because for some reason people think batter and forward are still good with their 1.61, 1.61, 1.81, 1.85. Like, harassers is dead. Get it out your heads. Everyone. Harasser meta is dead. Harassers are dead in this metagame. They cannot hold a candle to what is needed right now. People still think that forward is S tier. Forward is not S tier. He's not good. I'm a forward player. He's not good in this game. He's not good in this metagame right now. Like, he's just blatantly not good. Like, like again, argue with me all you want. You gotta argue with the numbers as well. You need to argue with the numbers as well. In every single category, survivors are losing more than they are winning compared to the hunters, who are winning more than they are losing. Every single time. Every single hunter in the top 10 that have over 10 matches are still winning or drawing more than they are losing. Survivors are losing and drawing more than they are winning. Every single time. And again, drawing is not bad, but drawing is the best thing that a survivor can get most of the time, whereas drawing is the worst thing that a hunter can get most of the time. That's where the disconnect happens. That's where my belief that, as of now, the game is pretty fucking hunter-sided comes from. If the worst case scenario, a majority of the time, for a hunter is drawing, whereas that is the best case scenario for a survivor majority of the time, how do we not think the game is hunter-sided? How do we not think that? I just don't know. I don't know. Genuinely. So, and like, it's just like, again, like, I don't know, like, I'm gonna have the hard asses in the comments that are gonna be telling me like, yo, you dish and that and dish and that and dish and that and dish and that and dish and that, and it's like, the numbers are there. You can look at the numbers yourself. You can search them up on Weibo if you want to see the numbers yourself. It's that simple. If you truly want to argue with me over this shit, find me another stat sheet that shows me otherwise from the official Weibo where the shit is different from this year. Find me something else to disprove it, because right now this is not only backed up by my experiences, but this is backed up by literal statistic. This is backed up by actual like mathematical proof. This is broken down mathematical proof. This shit took me fucking 3 days. I had to spend 3 days on this shit to get all this info. Yelda had to help me translate all this shit and break it down into these categories and whatnot. So that way then other people can look at this and be like, oh wow, okay, so this is what's happening in tournament. This is what's going on. So yes, the game in tournament is hunter-sided. If you don't believe me, well then I don't know what to tell you besides feel free to think what you want. Opinions will be opinions. Opinions can be wrong, but if this is not enough to like get the gears turning in the head, get the cobwebs out and like make you think and realize like, oh, okay, maybe this guy isn't just speaking to speak. He's actually like, you know, speaking with like actual evidence and is like showing stuff. Maybe, I should take into consideration his opinion and see where mine falls afterwards I've heard him out. And if I want to have a debate with him or just an exchange of ideas afterward to do that respectfully, then by all means go for it. But I don't know. For me, it's hunter-sided. Hunter-sided. The last year and a half has been hunter-sided. Hunter-sided. Without, like, doubts in my mind at all. Like, actually without doubts. Hunter-sided. Hunter-fucking-sided, man. Regardless, that's going to be the end of the video. Hope you all did enjoy. Let me know how you guys feel about this. And yeah, subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to hit 10,000 subscribers before the end of the year. We're already 2 months before the end of 2024. Can you believe that? So I will catch y'all in the next one. Peace out and love you all.